And Stephen is a multifaceted artist, recognized for his poetry, fiction, painting, and songwriting. His novel, The Highway of Spirit and Bone, has been acclaimed as a literary road trip for the ages. His poetry chapbook, Persons of Interest, won the 2021 Wolfson Chapbook Prize. In collaboration with his son, Ben, he co-authored Penultimate Human Constellation. Stephen's latest poetry collection, Life Field, was released in early 2024. His paintings have been featured in various literary journals, including Lily Poetry Review, Stone Boat, and Another Chicago magazine. He is Professor Emeritus at Central Connecticut State University. More information on his work can be found at www.StephenOstrowski.org. Please welcome Stephen.
Thank you. And thank you for the hat. I appreciate, Faith, this opportunity to read for your group, and it's a real honor. I'm going to read from a few poems from Persons of Interest, titled referring to people who have been of interest to me or have, affected me in some way. One of the big people in the world who has affected me in some way is Bob Dylan. You've heard of him? Especially these days with the movie and everything. But this is a poem about how Dylan influenced me as a young man, teenager and young man. And it's called Skeleton Blood Memoir with Bob. Port Richmond got too small, too hindsight-driven, way past tense. They converted stop signs into funerals and jukeboxes into arrest warrants. Dirge clouds gathered all summer over the girders of the Bayonne Bridge, and me, ancient and 17, and him spitting out those dagger songs. Held in smoke and dark-eyed friends, him on the 33, launching lines from Mercury, preferring the other side of everything. Mirror ballads, pinstripe blues, railroad drunk dog whale songs. I can still hear that wavy oxygen sound spilling across the room, flooding into my broke open brain. I smoked the chords too. Not one of the girls in that town got him. He's too... They had assets, but not the ear for Shakespeare's orphan. Thank you for you get that. If they'd have gotten him, they'd have gotten me inside out and up the wazoo. We'd have been kid-faced lovers, infamous on Richmond Avenue for our iron-singed eyes and lyric-smeared smiles. And it doesn't leave you ever. Leaves tracks that harp in your blood, leaves you spastic balletic, moonful in your poems, howl-round in the bedroom, a little lonely in the eye sockets, but approaching mystic. His ghost songs, even 50 years down the highway, shiver like the last hotel in the hurricane. Back then, world said, be this. I said, fuck you. I had his records in my cells, all the curves and edges, sulfur gaze hard as Duluth. I said, your song's used up, I got a whalebone, inlaid xylophone, and 10 words that rhyme with it. He didn't teach me everything. Why would I even want that? Be true to your pulse, keep the hammer headed south, stay amused, polish your boots, don't explain. Good night, and thank you for coming. Neil Young is another person who had a big influence on me, and whose music I've always loved. So this was called Neil Young. Hunched in the cab of his rusted truck, an old man hums gravel and dust. Another dusk among devil-swirled dusks. His eyes follow the rolling wave of pink-tinted grain. His cracked hand spreads open like a power chord's gush through a mahogany hall. distortions for a brain, and he thinks in the end there's been a rise for every fall. Low in the fade-out sky, the moon eye of a ghost opens and shuts. Down from the canyon's teeth comes an animal howl, a dry, restless gust. One more from this one. This is called Windows. Because Terry Gross, from NPR, is mentioned in the first line, I dedicate it to her. That
She's happy for
would that she would only know that. Yeah. Anyway, and it's in 5 sections. All have something to do with windows. I was driving with coffee and Terry Gross, and I turned my head to where deep in the woods something big, breathing brown moved like a curtain. But the lenses of my glasses have this oily smudge I cannot seem to wipe away. 2. Me, : It's weird for a person to talk to himself. Me, : Yes, but even weirder if he talks to himself through a window. Thank you. 3. Okay. At the drive-through, I was served by a young girl who reminded me of Jesus, the way she handed me my fish sandwich and small water, so graceful like our fingers were miracles. The way she wondered if I needed anything, then slid the glass closed and right away tended to another's need. 4. Our neighbor's daughter, Felicia, is pregnant. Yesterday, she showed us the sonogram. Even through the smudge, I could see the little fingers of one of the baby's hands spreading out like 5 roads from a hub. 5. Neil Young has that line in Helpless, blue, blue windows behind the stars. I always liked that he put the windows behind the stars, that the stars come first. Life Field. This was published recently by a publisher in Britain, and it's kind of like a memoir in poems, I guess you could say. And David read a prose poem. I've been writing a lot of prose poems lately. I kind of like, he's got a book he told you about for teaching poetry called A Surge of Language. And when I write a prose poem, that's sort of what I'm thinking of as a surge of language, like just kind of a gush coming out rather than, lineated and slowed down at line breaks and things. This is called In the Fields. This is what it was like for me when I was a boy. I ragged through paths kids tramped all summer for finding mysteries. My sweat on fat skunk leaves, my questions following long-tailed rats into caves of rock, my search for the kinds of spooky phenomena that I, at 9, could only believe with my hands. At the scar of a stream pocked with bags of glue and beer bottle gemstones and some girl's underpants, crows sat in bone trees and pretended they didn't understand my questions. My questions beating up from the prickers that cut my thin arms, sting on tiny bloody gashes heating under acidic sunrays so that I sought deeper shades lonely cool for healing. There, my boy heart in thrall, torn away Playboy pages wet with dew on the ground in my fingers, lifting them, trembling and unholy, oh, maybe holier than I knew, my blood prints on that quivery paper flesh. And then my mother, somewhere on the front steps 10,000 light yards away, calling a name, mine, though it sounded strange in air that felt like bathwater and smelled of burn and wilt and decay. Strange, too, because I was borrowing who I was from who I wanted to be. And that's how, evening come round, I tumbled home, a breeze-tossed ball of bramble, the holy mess of a boy who, looking up, caught glimpses of star pricks above the racket of sunset and thought he was the only one given so much. So that's kind of what it was like. Spent a lot of time in fields. Okay.
Could have been a farmer.
Could have been a farmer. Got my car, drove over to the farm. This is something David can relate to. It's called the aging process.
Oh man, I was going to treat you to dinner, but that's off the table now.
It's the noticing. It's the electric angles and magnetic turns the sun takes all day so your pixels can spark. It's touching your lover again, astonished for the 1,000th time, renewed like authentic shyness. It's another redemption story unfolding out in the garden, told by flower bells and shadowless sun. It's a song about the pleasure-guilty foretaste of innocence and remembering what you expected of tomorrow and then forgot until now. It's the rubbing of your eyes in the morning and at evening, the sweet humility of lowering your knees to the floor, belief and unbelief truced and twined with prayer-like acceptance. It's the kids and the kids' kids lining up for kisses. It's that just today you notice there's a wooden house with a wide porch set way back in the woods, all weedy, overgrown, decrepit, wayward, noble, gorgeous. It's wondering why all these years as you drove this curling green undulation of a road, your favorite road on earth, that house was always there and you never noticed it. It's the noticing now. Just a few more. Just two more prose poems. This one's about sitting in cafes and writing. Something that all of us probably like doing because we're writers. The cafes have that kind of ability to help us be creative. I don't know if it's the caffeine or what. It's called Making Stuff Up in 1,000 Caffeine Rooms. I have dropped my ass into 1,000 cafe, coffee shop, bookshop chairs, some wobbly, some sturdy, didn't matter. I was always notebook and pen or laptop ready, cup of joe pressed to, lower lip, wide-eyed, minded, and skin-tight sensitive to signals from anywhere, holy and sexy. On Bleecker Street as a scruff and curls newbie, in Paris in 20-something escapist wonderment, in Denver as a young father drawing mountains in the windows, in London surreal after hours at the Tate Modern, and in New London just yesterday as sailors laughed beside me with their all-American shoulders square and speaking with their Midwestern proper enunciations. You exist in a cafe in a state of desire, question, hipness, snow, wire, sun blaze, rain light, waitress deafness, need and need be. Cafes are places that glow in the dark of literature. They are stimulants of art that wake up the sleeping world. They smell of new birth. Cafes are unconcerned with numbers. They put you in touch with the ink of who you might be. They dare you to say it better and truer and stranger and newer. They hug and feed the oddball who lives in your thoughts and is happy to grow even odder as you sip and muse, dig a fork into the sweet pastry of your own possibility. Once I sat in a cafe on the Upper West Side, disheveled as ever but warm and quite potential. Outside, snow sizzled against the cathedral lights across the street, and I felt the spirit of a forming poem falling down through those lights. A poem that I wanted like a lover, and when she knew I was receiving something bigger than me, my ginger-haired lipstick waitress kissed me with her eyes, refilled my cup with a kindness that lifted the emerging words from my long-stained sacred book of scribbles straight out into breathing life, and I became the poem, and she became the best line in it. And I'll finish with this. Back to Bob Dylan, good place to finish since that's where I started. I'm working on a manuscript called New Dylan Album. It's just stretching the Dylan myth and the Dylan effect on my life into poetry of all kinds. This one happens to be a prose poem also. It's called Catalog of the Hours. Listen to the new Dylan album while I painted horses, 9 of them, but nothing like real horses except the thunder, the trample, the Holy Spirit smoke of their nostrils. Drank coffee at Cafe Sol with John the poet, and we shook heads on the mutual mental missions we find ourselves on, not to mention our sons and daughters and the kids of the kids, that great chain of being we wear happily around our necks during our instant of eternity. Said to him, heard the new Dylan album? He said, can't believe that guy's still going. Tabitha, proprietress extraordinaire, good witch of Niantic, dressed like a raven, refilled our mugs with a spark plug beverage of wonder juice that she orders from heaven sent direct. Drove home the extra long way, saw a bobcat move through yellow grass, saw a tiny old woman in overalls standing in her yard with a shovel in her hands, maybe burying a cat, but paused to stare into the sky at what might have been a cloud of words right out of scripture, except I couldn't quite tilt my head enough to read them as the road I drove bent and descended. Anyway, I think she's in the new Dylan album in some kind of mythic disguise. Finally got home, found Susie in the lamplight reading Shakespeare out loud to an audience of amber evening windows. I kissed her lips and my chest lit up and everything fell all over the house like a gown of jewels, so we made soup and then love. Later, like ethereal chord progressions, we slept deep, then deeper still, and one way or another, all of it's in the new Dylan album.